Would your microphone on?
We're off to a rough start today. I apologize. Okay, take three. Let's see how it goes. Welcome again to the Lincoln City Council meeting of July 10th, 2023. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief period of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The order of business of the Lincoln City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on any item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify themselves, the name of an organization or group, including an address that you may be representing by such person or group unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization, or group, and whether they are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for the date nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please call our first item?
Our first item today on our City Council agenda for Monday, July 10th, 2023 is our Mayor's Award of Excellence.
Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Beckius and members of the Council. It's really a pleasure to be here before you today to present the Mayor's Award of Excellence for February 2023 to a team from the Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Department. Tina Baker, Jeffrey Lacey, and Jerry Peitzik were nominated by Lincoln Police Department Captain Ben Miller and Sergeant Jenny Glantz in the categories of safety and loss prevention for their efforts to assist LPD investigators over the course of 2 weeks last fall. And LPD's investigation ultimately led to a search for evidence at the city's landfill on North 48th Street. And carrying out a search at the landfill presented a whole host of unique challenges, including temperatures that exceeded 100 degrees during those times, health and safety concerns, and a staggering amount of material that required a thorough search. To help strategize, coordinate, and execute a search in such challenging conditions, investigators turned to LTU Senior Environmental Specialist Tina Baker. In addition to assisting with crucial aspects of search planning and logistics, Tina connected LPD investigators with two members of her team at LTU, utility equipment operators Jeff Lacey and Jerry Peitzik. In their nomination letter, Captain Miller and Sergeant Glantz praised Tina's knowledge, her leadership, and her experience, along with her positive and encouraging attitude. And for their part, Jeff and Jerry assisted the investigation by moving thousands of pounds of material in ways that allowed our law enforcement professionals to conduct their search safely. In summing up their contributions, the nominators said that Tina, Jeff, and Jerry became, quote, members of our team, unquote, whose level of dedication, professionalism, and selflessness words cannot adequately express. So I hope you will please join me in congratulating Tina Baker, Jeff Lacey, and Jerry Peitzik for their truly excellent work to support this investigation and our law enforcement professionals. At this time, would love to have Director Liz Elliott come up and say a few words. She's the director of our LTU department.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a quick second to, anytime I can get the opportunity to publicly say thank you for the great work our team does every day, I will jump at that anytime I can. Also, a sincere thank you to LPD. This is just one example of how the city departments always collaborate and partner well together. We are there for each other when needed, and we work really well when the time requires it. And so this is just a great example of that. And thank you to all of you for doing what you do every day. It's just an exceptional job without question. So thank you to all of you.
If any of you would like to speak, please do come on forward. Or if you'd like to acknowledge any family members who are here, you could just let us know their names and we'll say hi to them.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Thank my wife, Michelle, my daughter, Riley, and my father-in-law, Roger.
Thank you.
We know how supportive and important the families of our city employees are. So yes, we do thank all the families who support their service, both at LTU and LPD and all our departments. And thank you again to this team. Let's give them another last round of applause.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, do you want to go ahead and move us forward?
Yes, our next on our agenda is our consent agenda, sections 1 through 3.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak on consent agenda items 1, 2, or 3? Anyone here to speak on items 1, 2, or 3? All right, seeing none.
Okay, we can now vote on these items. Item 1A is reappointing Abby Swatsworth, Angel Geller, Leanne Pancherone, Patricia Shepard to the Commission on Women and Gender for terms to expire on November 23rd, 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Show. Any comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1B is reappointing Quentin Brown to the Community Health Endowment Board of Trustees for a term expiring September 1st, 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington, comments? Please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1C is reappointing Benny Schob to the City Performance Audit Committee for a term expiring July 10th, 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Duden, any comments? Oh, thankfully none. Let's call the roll.
I was worried there for a second.
Let's call the roll, madam.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Oh, yeah.
Duden. Councilman Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1D is appointing Justin Carlson and Tom Duden to the City Performance Audit Committee for terms to expire July 10th, 2025, introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1E is appointing Benny Schob to the District Energy Corporation for a term to expire December 31st, 2024, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, comments? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1F is appointing Brody Weber and James Michael Bowers to the Lincoln Safe and Successful Kids Interlocal Board for a term to expire July 10th, 2025, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob. Comments?
I got one. I just want to say thank you to Councilman Shob for giving me your seat on this committee. You know that schools and kids are a specialty of mine in my career as a social worker and a therapist. And you've been on this committee since it first started in 2018.
Yeah.
And you were chair of it before. So I really appreciate you graciously passing this on to me. So thank you so much for allowing me to serve in this
You're very
capacity.
kind. I'm confident you will do well
Thank you.
with this guy.
Let's call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1G is appointing Justin Carlson and Brody Weber to the Railroad Transportation Safety District Board for a term to expire July 10th, 2024, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
Second, Washington. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1H is appointing Tom Duden to the Internal Liquor Committee, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1I is appointing Tom Duden to the Justice Council, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington. Comments? Please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1J is approving a professional services agreement supplement number 1 for preliminary engineering services between the City of Lincoln and Olson, Inc. for the 48th Street, 56th Street, and Calvert Street intersections rehab project, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1K is approving a professional services agreement supplement number 1 for environmental services between the City of Lincoln and Olson, Inc. for the 48th Street, 56th Street, and Calvert Street intersections rehab project, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1L, Investment Activity Report for quarter ending May 31st, 2023, introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Shob. Comments? Seeing none.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1M is distribution of idle funds for the month ending May 31st, 2023, introduced by Duden.
So moved. Second.
Second, Shob. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 2A was introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Is there a
Help me out,
second?
guys.
Second.
Thank
Second,
you.
second, Weber. Any comment? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes our consent agenda. We shall move on to Section 4, Public Hearing Liquor Resolutions. I'll call items 4A and 4B together. Application of Worthstrow LLC doing business as Double Eagle Golf for a Class I liquor license located at 150 Southwest 14th Place, and the related manager application of Samuel W. Stroh.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4A or 4B? Yes, please come on down. Right there would be great.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth as you verily believe it to be, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
If you could just start with your name and address for us.
Yeah, I'm Paul Worth, and my address is 13606 Corby Street, Omaha, Nebraska.
Good. And Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit about the applications before us today?
Yeah, so my business partner and I, Sam Stroh, are purchasing a indoor golf facility located inside the Kinetic Building off West O Street. And yeah, we're excited to bring that to Lincoln. It's been in existence for about 10 months. We're taking over from the original owner. And it's the first of its kind here in Lincoln, and there's a handful in Omaha, so we feel really good about, the prospects of that business and serving the community. So we're really excited.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming down. We appreciate it. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Shob.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Worth, for coming forward. What was the address again for your new facility?
The new facility is 150 West O Street, 14th place. I believe it's inside the Kinetic building,
Okay,
like a
the
sports
sports
facility.
complex, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? All right, very good. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Madam Clerk, if you can move us on. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me ask first. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4A or 4B? Okay, very good. Madam Clerk.
Yes, quickly, I'd like to take a moment to remind about public hearing testimony. I did forget to mention this earlier, so I do apologize. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Speakers should begin by stating their name, their address, organization, or group, and state if you're speaking for, in favor, or neutral for the item. Clerks will use the light system to help aid your timing for testimony. The green indicates your start time for testimony, yellow will be the 1 minute remaining mark, and red will be your time is up at 5 minutes. I'll call items 4C. Manager application of Rebecca M. Wohlers for Benchmark Redevelopment, Inc., doing business as Buzzard Billy's, located at 248 North 8th Street, Suite 101.
Hello.
Hello, that is me.
Come on down. If you could just get to a microphone there.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth as you verily believe it to be?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca, if you could just start with your name and your address for us.
Yes, my name is Rebecca Wohlers, and I live at 1647 South 22nd Street here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Perfect. And could you tell us, it looks like you're applying to be the manager for the manager application. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I have, Buzzard Billy's is actually the only restaurant, and Starlight Lounge too. It's the only bar and restaurant I've worked at in Lincoln. Other than the Bourbon Theater, I'm only there like maybe once a month. I've been there next week for 12 years. I started as a server host and worked my way up to management about 8 years ago and have been moved up to general manager as of January of this year. So
Very good. Well, congratulations.
thank you very, very much.
Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you so
All
much
right,
for
great.
coming
Thank
down.
you, everybody.
We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4C? Seeing none, let's move on to 4D.
I'll call item 4D, application of Homegrown Industries Lincoln doing business as Mellow Mushroom for a special designated license to cover an L-shaped outdoor area measuring approximately 208 feet by 82 feet and 300 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on July 15, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4D? All right, seeing none, let's move on to 4E.
Item 4E is application of Yin Family LLC doing business as Hero 88 for a special designated license to cover an L-shaped outdoor area measuring approximately 208 feet by 82 feet and 300 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy Street to 7th Street on July 15, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4E? Seeing none, let's move on to 4F.
Item 4F is application of Yard Investments LLC doing business as Gate 25 for a special designated license to cover an L-shaped outdoor area measuring approximately 200 feet by 82 feet, 300 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on July 15, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 11:55 p.m.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4F? All right, seeing none.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Oh, I guess I should wait till voting. Give me 5 minutes. I'll come back.
Okay, very good. And it looks like we are at the end of our liquor resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing no one else coming forward at this point, I'd like to move approval of items 4A through 4F.
Second?
Second, Washington, any comments?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Even though none of the applicants for the special designated license were here today, I want to thank them for coordinating this with the previous applicant who came forward last week at Longwell's. It looks like this is a better coordinated event, and I expect it will run smoothly.
Very good. Anyone else? All right, let's please call the roll.
Bowers.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. All right, that concludes section 4 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 5. Public hearing resolutions. I'll call item 5A, accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for June 1st through June 15th, 2023.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 5A? Yes, sir, please come forward. And you can speak at either microphone, whichever is more convenient. Yep, if you could just please start with your name and address.
Yes. My name is Rhonda Alcorn. This is my husband, Mitch Alcorn. Our address is 3844 St. Paul Avenue, and we live in apartment 2, and that's here in Lincoln.
Very good. The floor is yours.
So thank you very much for allowing us to come and discuss our claim with all of you. I've actually enjoyed being at this today because it's just fun to see all you guys having a good time together and making some great decisions. So thank you for allowing us to be here. Our claim is regarding a motor vehicle accident on May 7th, 2023 at approximately 8:41 p.m. We filed a tort claim with the city attorney's office, and Assistant City Attorney Tyler Spahn reviewed the claim. He determined that the fault of the accident was 50-50 and denied our claim. In his letter dated June 21st, 2023, he stated each party would pay their own costs from this accident. We do have a couple of copies of his letter if you would like to see that. We disagree with the assessment of the accident and who was at fault. The accident occurred at the intersection of Havelock Superior and Cornhusker Highway. We were westbound on Cornhusker Highway, approaching the intersection with a solid green light. According to the accident report, Officer Sternhagen was traveling northwest from the underpass on Havelock Avenue. He approached the intersection and did not have his lights and sirens activated. There was traffic stopped at the red light on Havelock Avenue. As stated on the accident report, the officer drove into the left turn lane, stopped, activated his emergency lights to clear the intersection on the red light, and started to proceed through the intersection. At that same exact time, under the green light, we had already entered the intersection from the east. On page 5 of the accident report regarding our vehicle, under the section called Driver's Actions at the Time of the Crash, the reporting officer selected the statement that says, "No contributing action on our part." On page 8 of the accident report, under the police vehicle section called Driver's Action at Time of Crash, the reporting officer selected Disregarded red light. We believe that if Officer Sternhagen had taken 2 seconds to ensure that the lanes were cleared, this accident would not have happened. After the accident, Mitch checked to make sure I was okay and then went immediately to check on the driver of the police vehicle. It was a hard crash, and Mitch was concerned about the person who was driving. Mitch was able to visit with Officer Sternhagen after he finished his line of duty. There was an event going on there, and even after he got spun around, he still got out of his car and took care of what was going on. Officer Sternhagen was kind and apologetic, stating that he was really sorry, but he just didn't see our vehicle in the intersection. It was dark, our car is black, there were a lot of things going on. According to the accident report, the officer observed our vehicle and tried to take evasive action to avoid the accident. Mitch, who was driving, did not see the police vehicle until time of impact. We are amending our original claim, and we are asking for $7,800 to replace the car. Our vehicle, a 2011 Chevy Cruze, was totaled in the accident. We have copies of the statement from Tracy's Body Shop stating that the vehicle was totaled. The amount we are asking for our car is based on the asking price for local vehicles of the same make and model and with mileage similar to that of our car. We have a copy of the ads for the vehicles on which we based our asking amount. We are also asking the city to pay the Lincoln Fire and Rescue bill, as I was transported to Bryan West as a precautionary measure. The bill for Lincoln Fire and Rescue is $1,547.52. We are very grateful that no one was seriously injured in this accident. Thank you again for your time and consideration of our claim. We would be happy to answer any questions that the council members might have, and actually Mitch would be happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
She got the hard part.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Let's see if we have any questions at all. Questions from council members. Councilman Bowers.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. So just to make sure that I have this clear, so you're at that kind of tri-way intersection of Havelock, Superior, and Cornhusker.
Correct.
You were getting ready to, or you were turning.
No,
Okay.
no, we were, I call it westbound on Cornhusker we came from Highway 77. We had just got back from Wahoo, went to a granddaughter's dance recital. So we had turned off of Highway 77 westbound on Cornhusker Highway. You know where I'm talking?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I'm right there
and,
with you.
and the officer was coming from Havelock Avenue. You know, it turns from Havelock to Superior
Yeah.
right there, but he was coming from the underpass.
Gotcha.
So we had a solid green. He had the red with both through lanes from Havelock blocked. He came up the left turn lane.
And I believe you said that according to the report, he did not have the lights on until he got to the intersection.
The report states that he stopped at the intersection, activated his emergency lights, and proceeded through. So beforehand, coming through the underpass, he did not have his emergency lights on, which may have helped me be able to see. You know, it was dark. I might have seen these lights flashing on underneath the bridge. I mean, there was no way for me to see him when he's down below me.
Can I see a copy of the report?
Sure.
I
Any,
I want the same.
okay. And it was page 5
I think you handed it to her. Yeah.
was where it lists my contributing actions,
pages.
and
Oh,
page
do you
8.
have, do you have another one?
Only
Do
has
I,
got
yeah, I
copies.
believe I have another one. In another folder. Well, I'll share with you. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Trying to make sure I get all the pages. 4, 1.
I think Councilman Weber would take that one.
Musical chairs.
You good?
Councilman Bowers, do you have another question at this point in time, or do you want me to ask if there's other questions in the
I'm
time?
good for right now.
I've got some questions.
Councilman Duden, go ahead.
The action report doesn't reflect it, but were there any cars next to you?
No.
None in the turn lane or the other westbound lane?
Nope, we were the only car going west at that particular time.
Okay. And you said the cruiser moved to the left turn lane to go straight.
Correct.
Were there vehicles in the other lanes in front of him?
Yes.
Not in front of him.
No, well, in both through lanes.
Right.
Yes, so
So-
he had to move over to the left turn lane, which was empty at that time.
Which they're not indicated on the accident report, I see.
Yeah,
And about how fast were you going?
I was probably doing 30 or 35,
And that's a
45.
45-mile-an-hour zone?
Yes.
Did they tell you, they said the reason for the denial was what?
That we were 50% at fault for the accident. I've got the letter from the assistant city attorney somewhere in here.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
Okay, very good. Other questions at this point in time?
I do have questions of the city attorney.
Okay, very good. Well, at this point in time, why don't you guys have a seat? I think that we have some other questions for some staff folks here. What will happen is after you, we will call and see if there's anyone else that wants to talk about their specific claim. And then when it comes to the voting session, a council member may or may not decide to remove your claim off of the denied claims list for separate consideration, either now or in the future.
Okay.
So we'll cross that bridge though when we get to it.
Perfect.
So, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Appreciate it.
time.
Yep. Mr. Christie, it sounds like council members may have questions for you, sir.
Yes.
Councilman Duden, do you want to start?
One of my questions is, was the It doesn't say anything in the letter, but was anybody cited for failing to obey emergency lights?
I do not know if anyone was cited, actually. But I can certainly.
Because it cites that statute, but it doesn't appear that anybody was issued a traffic ticket for that.
Right, and I think the statute that you're talking, the state statute about requirement to yield right away. And I would, again, I could certainly figure out if there are any citations. I don't believe that there are, but I don't believe that there were, but I can verify that if you'd like to know that. And I think the letter, to just kind of clarify a couple things, I think the letter actually stated that at best the apportionment of fault would be 50-50. So I don't think it was not intended to say it was 50-50. I think what Mr. Spahn, what we were trying to communicate was that at best it would be 50-50, but not that it was 50-50 liability. And then also citing the state statute that when police cruiser activates its emergency lights, you're required to yield the right of way and not proceed through the intersection.
So you're saying that you wouldn't be responsible for 50% of their damages?
Correct. I think that's if the case was in court and it was 50-50, then there would be no award. Correct. And the way it was stated is that at best, we believe it would be 50-50, but not that it was 50-50.
Okay. That's
Any
all.
other questions, sir?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good.
Appreciate it.
Councilman Powers, questions?
Yeah. So, and I might be misunderstanding the 50-50 part of it. If they're supposed to yield, and I get, supposed to yield when lights are on, based on the information that you have, is there anything that the residents could have done to avoid the accident? I mean, when I look at it, I think if the cruiser didn't have its lights on, turned its lights on as it went through the intersection at the same time as the residents went through, I don't know if I necessarily see something that the residents could have done to avoid the accident. Is there anything that you can see on the information that you have that they could have done to avoid the accident? Because if it's 50-50 or whatever, then I would imagine that there would have been some course of action that city law would have thought that they could have taken to avoid the accident, but I'm not necessarily seeing it.
Well, I guess I would say a few things. Again, I think the statement was that at best, maybe you could get to 50-50, not that it was 50-50. And the 50-50 reference is just if this matter was to go to court with these type of cases, if the fact finder determines that it was 50-50, then we would not be responsible. So that was a reference to if this was to go into court. Again, it was not stated that we believe it was 50-50. We just believe that's the best that they could get. And I think it's important to remember that this is not a trial in the sense that we haven't heard from all of the witnesses. And so I do think your question is a fair question. However, there's certainly a officer who also was driving and stopped at the light, presumably looked before the emergency lights were on. I tell you that to just remind everyone that is another witness who's not here, providing their version of the events, the way that they saw it unfold. And also with the state statute, our legislature has already made it very clear that if the emergency sirens are on with an emergency vehicle, then when you're driving, it's your duty to yield, and so that is the presumption. So that's where we start from.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Christie? Councilwoman Washington?
I just want to clarify the directions. I did hear Mr. Alcorn say that he was traveling west, but was the cruiser trying to go through the light and stay on Havelock Superior, or were they trying to make a left-hand turn and go west on Cornhusker?
I believe it would appear that the cruiser was trying to go straight.
It had moved to the left lane in order to go straight. So it moved into the turn lane on the left-hand side
Or
in order to
maybe-
proceed through. Okay, I see a picture now. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Duma, questions?
Well, the accident report doesn't reflect that there are any witnesses. And the accident report doesn't reflect that there were any stopped vehicles in these other lanes either, which would have actually blocked the view of both the officer and the other driver. So the accident report, in my estimate, is incomplete.
Well, certainly the driver of the vehicle is a witness. We don't always think of, but the officer driving the cruiser is a witness. And when I said witnesses, I think I specifically referenced that the driver of the cruiser would have certainly a version of the events. And like if these cases were to say, or if this claim was to go into litigation in a courtroom, there could be depositions and presumably someone could testify under oath, either at a deposition or on the stand, and presumably the driver of the vehicle would be one of those that would have to testify if it was to go that route.
Further questions, sir?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, very good. Any other questions for Mr. Christie? All right, very good. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Would council members like to hear from any other party on this particular item? Yes, Councilwoman?
Could Mr. Alcorn come back and we can ask one question? Thank you. Were you cited for
No.
a violation?
No.
All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
Actually, I got one more question.
Okay.
Sorry.
Councilman?
So you said the Bluebeck value of your Chevy Cruze was 7,800.
Well, I'm basing that on, I found two cars with a quick search on the internet, one that was the same year as our vehicle, a 2011 Chevy Cruze with actually a few more miles on, well, about 20,000 more miles. We had 103. They are asking, and that one was in Seward. Let me find that one. They are asking $79.95 for that one. 2011 Chevy Cruze with 129,000 miles. And the other one I found is in Fremont. It's 2012, so a year newer, about 20,000 miles less. They are asking $9,900 for that one. And then the one other one I found is a 2013 with about half the miles, 58,000, and they're asking $14,990 for that one.
Can I see what you got?
So that's what I am basing
Yeah.
the value on. It's very expensive to buy used cars right now.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Thank you. Thanks, Tony.
Any other questions? Councilman, do you mind if I ask around?
Yeah, I'm good.
Any other questions at all? Councilman, any other questions from you?
Nope. Do you mind if I hold on to this for a second?
No, that's fine. Yep.
Did you want to see
Yeah,
it?
can I hang on to this too?
Sure.
Thank you.
Did you need to see these?
Thank you.
Oh,
Council
I haven't seen them yet. I'll get together with you later.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5A? Anyone else here to speak on item 5A? All right, seeing none, let's move on.
I'll be calling item 5B, approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Lincoln on behalf of the Lincoln-Lancaster County Health Department and CHI Health St. Elizabeth to implement the Universal Home Visitation and Family Connects program to all mothers who have delivered or welcomed new babies through adoption in Lancaster County.
Good afternoon, Pat Lopez, Health Director at Lincoln Lancaster Health Department. This is similar to the memorandum of understanding you approved a couple of weeks ago for Brian. It's the other component of bringing together the initial implementation of our Universal Home Visitation program that the council approved in the budget. We're really excited to be at this this place, and we'll be giving you another update very shortly on where we are on that.
Very good. Thank you, Director Lopez. Any questions for Director? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5B? All right, seeing none, let's move on to 5C.
Item 5C is approving a LPA program agreement between the City of Lincoln and State of Nebraska Department of Transportation for the use of Federal State Transportation Innovation Council funds for the Hyperflow software pilot project to monitor traffic signal system performance.
Dan?
Dan Carpenter, Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Traffic Engineering, 949 West Bond Street. Here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Dan? Oh, Dan, you got lucky today. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. All right, Madam Clerk, it looks like we're at the end of our resolutions, public hearings.
We can now vote on these items. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for June 1st through June 15th, 2023, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob. Comments? Seeing none?
Oh, yes, sorry. I would like to make a motion to toss it back to city law so that way they can have an opportunity to renegotiate with the claimants, so that way they can come up with a suitable option. Remove with further adjustment.
If I may, I think it could be a motion to place on pending
status.
Yeah, place on pending status, and Matt would, if that motion was granted, then it would go back to our office, and we would continue negotiate, investigating. That is an option. I think that's what you mean. Place it back on pending. Pending. Yes.
Yeah. I'll
So
second that.
just for clarity,
Yes.
the motion of Councilman Bowers would be to move the Alcorn claim to a pending status. Is that
Remove it
correct?
from denied to back to pending.
Is that correct, Councilman?
Yes, so that way city law can continue their investigation and review it again, and also provide more opportunity to make sure that the Alcorns get a fair shake.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second, Weber. Let's go ahead and.
One thing I'd like to add for discussion also is also to the Alcorns, if it gets denied or whatever, then it would come back in front of the council again. So that way it could be heard again, if I'm understanding correctly. Maybe the investigation will bring out more information, to clarify things one way or the other. But if it gets denied, then you would then also have the opportunity to come in front of the council to have your piece heard again. Okay. Do you all have a car to drive now currently?
We are using my mom's car as a second car, yes.
Okay. The reason why I asked, for speed and effective, you know what I mean, make sure that you all are taken care of. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think all of that communication, all that information will be communicated to you also by city law as well. Anyone else wanting to make a comment? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on this particular movement of taking this claim to a pending status.
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
No.
Motion carried, 6-1.
Very good. We'll go back to the main motion.
Shob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Okay. Item 5B, approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Lincoln on behalf of the Lincoln-Lancaster County Health Department and CHI Health St. Elizabeth to implement the Universal Home Visitation Family Connects program to all mothers who have delivered or welcomed new babies through adoption in Lancaster County, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Bowers. Comments? Seeing none?
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5C is approving an LPA program agreement between the City of Lincoln and State of Nebraska Department of Transportation for the use of federal state transportation innovation council funds for the Hyperflow software pilot project to monitor traffic signal system performance, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington, comments? Please call the roll.
Washington.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Student.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes Section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to Section 6, our public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. I'll call item 6A, approving a lease agreement between the City of Lincoln and Arbor ENT LLC, doing business as Equus Workforce Solutions, for the lease of space by Equus Workforce Solutions at 1330 N Street, Suite A and B, from January 27th, 2023 through December 31st of 2029.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 6A? Mr. Christie.
Good afternoon, council members. Dylan Wren, 1330 N Street. And before you is a lease agreement with Equus Workforce Services for 6 years. And they will be working in one of our cubicles. Their services really parallel a lot of the work that we're trying to do at the American Job Center. They've got a grant with Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services to deliver a program called Employment First. So it's helping individuals that are on TANF with upward mobility. So happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Dylan? Yes, Councilman Schob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wren, thanks for coming forward. I appreciate what you're doing. I know what you're doing is a good thing. When you say they rent a cube from you, I just see like a 4 foot by 4 foot space. Are they limited to just that space, or are all the resources and ability available?
Great question. Actually, all the resources are available to them. So the cube is about 6 foot by 6 foot, but that also gives them access to our conference rooms, our interview rooms, and then their customers can also use our resource rooms. So,
By customers, you mean individuals in our community who are looking for work that walk in to
Yes.
your new facility?
absolutely. We call them job seekers, but any resident in Lancaster or Saunders County could come in and get services for free.
And your new facility is located where?
It's right across the street from Bennett Martin Library.
Thank you very much.
I'd
Thank
love to
Mr.
give you a tour if you ever want
Ooh.
to come down. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wren. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Keep going.
Oh, I was just going to say we only have 4 more cubicles left to lease out, so you probably won't be seeing me after that. I don't know.
Very
We'll
good,
see.
very good. Any other questions for Dylan while he's here?
Do those next 4 leases look possible?
Right now, I don't know who it will be, but they're very affordable, so
Okay.
we'll see.
Very good. All right.
Thank you for your support.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6A? Seeing none, let's move on to 6B.
Item 6B is change of zone 08011A, application of Cedars Home for Children Foundation, Inc. to amend the Cedars Plan unit development to expand the facility to include an approximate 9,000 square foot indoor recreation facility and a shelter expansion for an additional 6 apartment units on the property generally located at 6601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Nay.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Danae Kalkowski, Seacrest and Kalkowski Law Firm, appearing today on behalf of Cedars. And with me today, Mr. Jim Blue, the president and CEO of Cedars. I'm going to let Jim talk to you first a little bit today just about the expansion plans and what we're trying to do with the amendment to the PUD. And then I'll just have a couple brief comments when Jim's done, and then we'll both be available for any questions you might have.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Jim,
Danae.
just want to start with your name and address for the
Very
record.
good. Jim Blue, 6601 Pioneers Boulevard. Councilman Beckius, members of the council, thank you very much for your time this afternoon and your service to the city of Lincoln. Really appreciate that as a lifelong resident of our community. Danae wanted me to do a full 5-minute infomercial on Cedars. I'm going to just kind of keep it as brief and to the facts as I can. Anybody that has any questions, I would be happy to expound on that. Cedars organization has been located at 6601 Pioneers since 1948, when Pioneers Boulevard was a gravel road, a farmhouse, and a World War II conscientious objectors camp. That's where the kids first moved into. 1953, that was taken down, and the first part of what stands today was erected. As you know, the Cedars organization is pretty broad in its impact, not just in the city of Lincoln, but in the state of Nebraska as well. We work very hard to treat kids and families with respect and provide them with every chance to be productive members of our communities. We identified the need for this specialized program for homeless, pregnant, and parenting teens several years ago, but it was a 16-year-old homeless girl with a 2-month-old baby last November that pushed us over the edge, and everything that we have in terms of development has been related to the Carriage House since that time. We are proposing to build a 7,000 square foot facility called the Carriage House, 2 to 3 month program where we will prepare homeless, pregnant, and parenting teens to successfully and safely move into apartments in the community or back home with their families or to whatever more stable environment for that young family is a reality for them. At the same time, we are very excited to offer the development of a modest size indoor rec center for the emergency shelter. We have 20 kids in that rec center, and we will have the Carriage House, and we have other programs in the community of Cedars, which we really don't have an indoor rec facility. We use the YMCA and other resources, but right next to the shelter will be so wonderful for the kids. It won't be a full-size gymnasium. The 3-point lines will be regulation, because that's important, right? But the distance between the 3-point lines will be much shorter. So it will be a modest-sized recreation center, but we're really looking forward to getting the kids out of the program areas in January. So thank you for consideration, and Danae will tell me if there's something else I need to talk about.
Just a couple more things, just to let you know. Right after we submitted, we did send a letter out to our neighbors with a copy of the site plan and description of what the amendments were, inviting them to call or email if they had any questions. And I don't think either Jim or I, or did I see planning, have any calls or questions from any neighbors. This item was on the consent agenda at Planning Commission, so it had unanimous approval there. So we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Danae or Jim?
I have just a comment.
Excellent.
Councilman
You
Duda.
know, I've taken my, Jim was one of my instructors years ago.
That's funny to hear.
But I would like to say that I've taken loads of students through Cedars, and your staff there is professional. The work that you do is outstanding, and you've been kind of an icon for Cedars in general. And it takes a progressive leader like you to bring these new things into Lincoln. So I want to thank you for doing all that.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you, Tom.
Any other comments or questions for Danae or Jim? All right, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? Anyone else here for item 6B? All right, seeing none, let's move on to 6C.
Item 6C is change of zone 08041F, application of Riga Engineering Group to amend the Pine Woods Plan Unit Development to change from AGR Agriculture Residential District to R3 Residential PUD over the 9.78 acres of land, all to add an approximate 22,000 square feet of floor area for a club on property generally located at 6401 Pine Lake Road.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 6C? 6C. All right, seeing none, let's move on to 6D.
Item 6D is change of zone 23050, application of Riga Engineering to change from AG Agriculture District to AGR Agriculture Residential District on property generally located at 8450 Buckboard Drive.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 6C?
D.
All right, seeing none. I'm sorry. Do you want the director to come and speak? C, we're on C. Or I'm sorry, 6D, I apologize. Anyone here to speak on item 6D? Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, seeing none, let's move on.
I'll be calling item 6E, text amendment 23008, request of Family Service Lincoln to amend Lincoln Municipal Code Section 27.63.610, Neighborhood Support Services, to remove the condition set forth in subparagraph B in order to allow neighborhood support services to be located in any new or existing structures and to remove the requirements requirement the structure be adjacent to a park, school, place of religious assembly, or neighborhood center.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 6E? Please come forward. If you could just please start with your name and address.
My name is Jessica Lehman. I live at 5027 Aylesworth. I stand here today to tell you that Section 1, Paragraph B should stand today. The representatives for the proposal to scratch it from the ordinance have not given the city, its people, or the body, or this body, an adequate opportunity for compromise or consideration. While the existing structure clause is obviously too restrictive, the rest of the paragraph serves to protect family services and other neighborhood support services from their own ambitions. Because no compromise is on the table at this time, the paragraph should stand. I would like to show this body several maps of my neighborhood to just demonstrate just how egregious the proponents' actions have been.
It'll come up in just 1 second. There you go.
So this is a map of the floodplain, and this is where the proposed project is. This would be my lot. And let me tell you what wasn't in my door. What wasn't in my door was a notice from the planning department or from Councilman Bowers about a neighborhood meeting regarding this project. My lot is contained within this map, which it shows whose properties designated that should be notified about this project, and yet I was not informed of a neighborhood meeting taking place before this. Apparently, this concerns me no more than it concerns the rest of this city, who these prima facie representatives decided had no need to know about this proposal until it had already been approved by the planning committee. They claim to be making community centers. They claim to want to do for the community, but how could they be expected to stoop so low as to be the ones to inform me of this project? Now, rather than chance a compromise or deign to negotiate, the chance that this overly ambitious project might be curtailed in any way, shape, or form, they tried to keep me in the dark. And then your colleague, Councilor Bauer, had the nerve to say he had held a meeting with the residents to answer all of our questions to address our concerns. If the city truly intends to add 5,000 units of affordable housing and infill 12,000 more units into the already established city as it claims in the Plan Forward 2050 comprehensive plan, then it will have to learn to work with the homeowners, not against them. Now, you'll have to excuse me if these aren't exact copies of the maps we were shown in the meeting with the planning committee. Either I didn't try hard enough, or when I asked for all of the maps from said meeting, Miss March, the planning department representative, and I have different definitions of the word all. This is a map of the city at large, and it shows roughly where 51 Commons would be located. This is a map zoomed in on our neighborhood, and this would be the block in question. Now, both of these are useful maps and are good for orienting where you are in the city and in the neighborhood. However, what they failed to show was what you can see in this map, which is a larger view of our neighborhood, including areas of Sang Park. And I would like to point out how, excluding this part of the neighborhood failed to show just how close a park is to our neighborhood in order for neighborhood services to access our neighborhood. This is zoomed in on the northern part of Sang Park, where there are not one, not two, but 3 empty lots currently sitting there that are all not in R2 zoning like the lot in our section of the neighborhood is. So I'm here to ask you to keep paragraph B in this ordinance, not only to protect the residents of Lincoln from future projects that are just as likely to be concealed as this one, but the neighborhood support services and their reputations, because the behavior of the proponents of removing this text from the city's codes cannot be asked to compromise, to be creative, to think beyond their own objectives. That will destroy them and turn the hard-working residents of this city and the people they seek to help against the people they seek to help. The city of Lincoln deserves better. Since they have proven inept, it falls to the law to protect us all.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for the testifier?
I just want to
Councilman
clarify.
Bowers?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I never said that I held a meeting about this project. Family Service was the one who facilitated the meeting about this. What I said that I do is I hold a monthly town hall every month on the third Thursday of every month, and that's one way that folks have reached out to me. In addition, also having open office hours. So Family Service was the one who held that meeting, not me.
Still, nothing showed up in my door, yet I'm very close to this project. Negligence in my book.
Any other questions for the testifier?
Can you go back to
Councilman Duda?
that first map that you had?
This one
Yes.
shows a flood zone.
Okay, now where's the park? Can you show me where the park is in that map?
On this map,
Yeah.
Sang Park would be located here.
Oh, it's way to the north?
Yes. So on the larger map, zooms out a bit more. This is Sang Park, and forgive my pen. This would be the block where they intend to put the project.
What are they proposing for that project? What kind of a building?
It would be a community center as well as 10 units of affordable housing, which in my opinion is frankly too much to crowd into that neighborhood, into that single block.
Okay.
And we can get Director Carey up here if you have further
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
Councilman Duden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to,
Okay.
research that.
Okay, let's stick with this testifier, though, before we move on to that. Councilwoman Washington, did you have a question?
I did have a question about process. There were some parts about your testimony that, though they might have been very, very clear, without having the project brought forward first, I tried to take notes on what your testimony was, but we don't have an overview of the project ahead of time. I know that we've had a request from the applicant, not yourself, but the applicant, to delay this 1 week with keeping public hearing available because they have a related item that's on first reading this week.
Yes, so several of my neighbors and I filed an appeal on the initial, there were 2 parts that went through the planning committee, this text amendment and the project itself. And so given what happened with the project itself, my neighbors and I believe that the text amendment protects all of the city's residents against being put through what we were put through.
Okay, and I would ask that for greater clarity, because there are 2 pieces of the project. There's the text amendment, and then there's the project itself, that we hear them both at the same time.
I would have liked that too. Somehow this wound up today, and then there was the one next week, so.
Not sure how or why, but I think for all of our sakes up here, we would like very much to hear them both at the same time. So I was going to
And my neighbors would also like more time because
And-
several of them didn't realize that this was scheduled for today.
It would not close this public hearing. This public hearing would be continued. My motion was to delay for 1 week so both pieces could be heard at the same time, and we would continue the public hearing. But since you came prepared, I didn't want to interrupt your giving your testimony.
Thank you.
looks like we may have other testifiers potentially here today as well.
Okay.
So let's see if there's any more questions for this specific testifier. And then what we'll do is, since we're kind of in the testimony route already and the applicant is not present, we'll go ahead and hear from any other testifiers. And then if folks have questions for Director Carey, we can call them up at that point in time. Any other questions for this specific testifier? Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Are there other members of the public that would like to testify on this item, item 6E? Please come forward.
This is the map. This one discusses this one shows the sewage lines.
My name is Ron Brown. I live at 5050 Ellsworth Avenue, Lincoln, Nebraska. My house is across the street from what they proposed on putting in. I don't read very well. My English language, I don't read very well, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm here today to tell you that paragraph B needs to remain in the Lincoln Municipal Code because of the forces, neighborhood support services to be located in places, equipment with the infrastructure they need to operate. The ambitious and unpromising plans put forward by Family Services, Ms. Martin from the Planning Division, and Councilman Bauer demonstrated the lack of foresight that goes into planning these projects. I'm going to stop there for a second and talk openly a little bit. We did not get door hangers on our doors telling us what they was going to do. Only certain people got them, not everybody, like Jess was telling us. We had no idea what was going on. All of a sudden, Family Services was going to have an open house in a empty building up in University Place. And most of us didn't even know till 2 days before that meeting was even going to happen, they were even proposing anything. This piece of land has been up for sale off and on for a couple years now. So we had no idea what was going on. I'm going to go on to reading. This is the map of the sewerage and services for our block. In the block under Plan 51 Commons, my neighbor showed the map to the Planning Commission on the June 14th meeting. As a professional plumber, he got this map from the city of Lincoln. Every 2 years, it's updated. He detailed to the committee how absolutely inadequate this system is for the houses already using it. The committee considered the map very carefully and then entirely dismissed the ratification of the situation with excuse that there would be 10 houses hooked up to this system as it stands. Somehow 9 people, purported planning professionals, in their aggressiveness to approve the project managed to completely forget the fact that according to their own amenities, 50 more people on top of the 10 additional houses would also be on the system, meaning if you put in this thing before school, after school, you bring all these kids from their elementary schools there, flushing the toilets almost as soon as they get there because they've been on the bus for a little bit. You got all these people flushing their toilets, and then you've got the 10 row houses they want to put in. 10 row houses across here. That is a lot of sewage going down the drain all at the same time. The committee considered the map very carefully, and the ratification of this system. Somehow 9 people proposed planning professionals in their aggressiveness to approve the project managed to completely forget the fact that according to their own amenities, I lost my spot, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
They somehow forgot the entire reason for implementing a community use plan. It specified the entire audience how they could be so Now, while it is true that 10 more houses could go into this block under a current planning plot, meaning R2, there's 10 lots, they wouldn't have all these people coming in from the school, flushing the toilets all at once. It would just be 10 lots. Under private development, they would not get into simultaneously using this system. That means that there was these additional users gradually increases the pressure on the system. The city would have time to recognize the increasing problem and fix them, instead of 51 commons would simultaneously unleash vast amounts of pressure on an already overwhelmed system. The proponent of changing the text on this bill are willing to be ignored. The city has fixed this problem hasn't fixed the problem in 40 years. Now, Family Services wants to make 10 more households and a community center relevant on the system. It intended to harm not only the current residents, but also the future residents and the users of the community.
Sir, we are at the 5-minute mark, so if you could please wrap up your comments, I would appreciate it.
All I can say is that this is the wrong area to put this community service. You can go up north of us up by Dairy Queen, and like Jess said, there's places up there with empty lots that this would fit in a lot closer to what the city needs.
All right, very good. Are there questions for this testifier? Seeing none. Thank you, sir, for
Thank
coming
you.
down. We appreciate it. Are there other testifiers on this item that would like to come forward? Please. And if there's anyone else who would like to testify after this gentleman, please go ahead and come on down now. We will rotate back and forth and try to do this in a quick fashion. Sir, the floor is yours.
Okay, my name is Craig Hollers. I live at 1525 North 51st. Violating multiple codes. Today, we here are challenging the text amendment to Section 1, Paragraph B. We are here on this day in particular as Family Services is trying to clear the Lincoln Municipal Code out of the way for 51 Commons in a rush to get past the legislation restricting their misplaced ambitions and protecting the residents and the values of their homes. However, Paragraph B is not the only paragraph proposed. 51 Common violates in the Neighborhood Support Services section of the LMC. 51 Commons also violates Section E. Paragraph E reads, "No such use shall render a service which is customarily carried on as a business." Family Services is primarily intending the community center that makes 51 Commons eligible for consideration as a community use plan for child care. Child care is customarily a business and therefore is not allowed to be provided under the auspices of a neighborhood support service as it states in Paragraph E. This is included in the special permit in direct and possibly intentional violation of the Lincoln Municipal Code. 51 Commons has multiple other known and possibly intentional code violations we intend to present at the appeal next week, for which waivers were not pursued at the Planning Committee in June 14th meeting, which should prevent it from proceeding. It is thus our belief that the Planning Department, in the sole pursuit of adding affordable housing as a part of the 2050 Comprehensive Plan, is quite possibly knowingly and intentionally violating the LMC, trying to do an illegal workaround, ignoring the letter and intent of the ordinance before us today. Proposing 51 Commons as a neighborhood support service allows Family Services to enact a community plan, which opens the door for them to violate other parts of the municipal code and zoning regulations in the adjacent housing project. Approving this text amendment today supports future violations of the LMC by allowing neighborhood support services to be placed anywhere in any neighborhood where following in this project's example, further violations will become common and prevalent. All of which means we're here today rushing through an uncompromising amendment to the text of the municipal code proposed as a neighborhood support service that is ineligible for such consideration. Because of this, we do not trust the Lincoln City government to act in or even consider the interests of aggrieved parties, or frankly, to even follow the Lincoln Municipal Code. When a government has proven itself to be untrustworthy, any text in that law that protects the current and future homeowners of a city should remain in the municipal code in order to stand as a bulwark against the harms that such a government may try to inflict on them. Any plan for the future of this city must respect the current and future homeowners, or the value of this city as a whole will decline. Therefore, paragraph B should stand. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for the testifier? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. Other testifiers? If there's more than just this gentleman, please, if there's anyone else that wants to testify.
I'm the last one.
Okay, very good. Go ahead
My
and
name
start
is
with your
Rory,
name.
Rory Pickle, live at 5026 Aylesworth.
Okay.
I believe this text should stand. Okay. Theft. I've been told change is hard, that it's scary, that I'm just a backwards and uncaring old fool for not embracing the change that Family Services is bringing into my neighborhood. Well, can I just say I'm not that stupid? It's not change I'm afraid of. What I'm worried about here is theft. That's right, I said it, theft. It might sound like a dirty word, but let me tell you, this is dirty business. And this paragraph is the only thing protecting the citizens of Lincoln from it. Family Services is going to bring, quote, low-income housing into my neighborhood. That is going to tank the value of my home and every home on my block. The home my parents bought before I was born. The home I took care of my dying, my dying parents, caretaking for them for over 5 years. They're going to try to cram 10 units towering over my house onto the street 4 doors down. They're going to increase the traffic going past my front door. No one with a lick of sense is going to pay what it's worth now, since it's not the quaint little house on a quiet street. They're going to do all this, and they have the nerve to tell me that I'm the problem. Well, I'm tired of being the butt of the joke. I watched your colleague and fellow city councilor James Bauer laugh in the face of one of my neighbors who voted for him and regretted it. James Bauer supported a plan that would take thousands of dollars from this man, and he didn't even have the compassion to treat my neighbor, his constituent, with respect. My neighbors and I tried bringing our concerns to the planning committee, and they bent over backwards to assure themselves that someone else would protect us and handle our concerns, so long as they could pat themselves on the back and say they were doing their part for the mandate to increase affordable housing in the city. They looked at us and told us that change is hard, as if there wasn't a monetary consequence for each of us because of their decision. They told us that any of our concerns, we should trust the city. That might be the biggest joke of all. The city has left us in a floodplain, neglected the sewer system, cost us thousands of dollars already in flood insurance and water damage. The city that has a paid representative helping to lower the value of our homes even more. How about the city proves that it is willing to serve us before we trust it? I'm here to tell you I know change. I've watched my neighborhood change since I was born here. I'm not here to think the city should prevent change. I'm here to tell you that citizens in the city are being robbed and they have no one to stand up for them. So I implore you to keep this text and the law to protect the citizens not from change but from theft, because those words are the only thing protecting me and my fellow citizens from being the butt of the city's and Lincoln Journal-Star's jokes. If this text and/or project is approved in my neighborhood, then my step is moving and taking my tax dollars to another city or possibly county. I'm tired of what the city is becoming, the so-called change.
Are there questions for the testifier?
Just one thing I want to clarify. If this text amendment doesn't go through, that would not prevent low-income Section 8 housing from going in.
That's fine. The
Right.
community center's still too much, though. I mean, it's...
For sure, but I mean, I just want to be super clear, like when we talk about the concern of like low-income housing going in,
Still no garages for all this housing. There's nothing. Everybody's be parking on the street. It's not a well-planned project.
Sure.
You guys are trying to rush it through. You know that.
No, but hear what I'm saying though. even if this doesn't go through.
I hear you. I understand.
Okay.
I understand. I'm no dummy, like I said. Any other questions?
Any other questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming.
Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 6E? Anyone else here for 6E? Okay, very good. Counselor?
Can we
Yep,
ask Dave
yep,
Carey to come
Yep,
up?
we're getting there.
Okay.
Councilman Duden, do you have questions for Director Carey?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Good afternoon, David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street.
Mr. Carey, isn't there any way that they could put this community center next to the park like the ordinance is intended to? Or why was the ordinance originally written in the first place?
I can't represent what the thought process was of the applicant, and the applicant's not here today because the intention is to continue the public hearing and have that full hearing next week.
Okay.
And just so I can get that on the record of why that's the case. So we had a companion special permit for the actual project that was just appealed kind of at the last moment that it could be after 2 weeks from the hearing from the Planning Commission. So that's why this item had been scheduled and just staying on its regular course of and track for putting it on the calendar for the City Council. This text amendment is related to that special permit project. So the project itself needs the text amendment to happen to be approved for the project to be approved as well. So that was a special permit that could have been final action at Planning Commission. It was appealed, and that hearing is now scheduled. It's first reading today, hearing is next week, and we're proposing or requesting that this hearing for this text amendment be continued. That will allow the applicant to do their presentation as it would normally happen. I think a lot of those questions will be answered next week.
I'll wait till next week then.
Very good.
Thank you.
Are there other counselors that have questions at this point in time, or counselors that would like to wait until next week? Councilwoman Washington.
I just have one question. I will have more questions next week. But I am interested in the assertion that around code violations, and they're suggesting that childcare is a violation of paragraph E, that says no businesses can operate. It goes on then to talk about heavy manufacturing or painting, or, and so I'm just curious, either today or next week, would you please come back and tell me what the definition of business is in this section of the ordinance?
Yeah, we certainly can be prepared to answer those questions.
Yes. And then I'll be very curious to find out if a height waiver was requested.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there other questions for Director Carey at this point in time? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and, Councilwoman Washington, I think that you had a motion that you wanted to make on this item.
Yeah, it would be a motion to delay by 1 week, but I'd like to rephrase that to a motion to continue public hearing 1 week when the special permit comes forward. And so I just want to carry this on and welcome you back next week if you'd like to come back again.
I'll second.
Second, Bowers. Let's go ahead and call the roll on that.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right.
Thank you for coming down today. Public comment will continue next week. Let's move on to item 6F.
Item 6F is amending the pay schedule for employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range which is prefixed by C by changing the range for class 5372 control instrumentation technician from C30 to C35.
Director.
Good afternoon, Barb McIntyre, 575 South 10th Street, Human Resources Director. And I am here, we were asked by Liz Elliott to take a look at the classification and do a pay study on it. We were finding it challenging to hire, and we were having a lot of turnover in this position. So we did review the market, and we were slightly behind on this, and so we are correcting that now. This will result in a slight pay bump for this, 3 people who are in this classification, but it does bring us in line with market so we can attract and retain the talent. And this is, I'm going to say it's at our wells out by Ashland is where this position is. So pretty important for us.
Sounds important if we want to drink water. All right. Any questions for Director McIntyre at this point? Okay. See none. Thank you, Director. Yep, she gets to do it again. Madam Clerk?
Item 6G is amending the pay schedule for employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range, which is prefixed by C, by changing the range for Class 5304 telemeter control technician from C30 to C35.
Yes, and so these two positions are very closely aligned. They work exactly in the same area. They do very similar work. You're going to see that they were both C30s, now they're both C35s. It's the same thing. We're just keeping them in alignment. And again, it's about having the right compensation so we can hire and hold on to the talent. They do slightly different work, but very similar work. So, and then we are changing the class title on the second one to a utility electrical technician. I think that's just aligning, again, the title closer to market so we can attract those people who are looking for those electrician jobs.
Okay. Very good. Questions for Barb? Yes,
Do you have
Councilman.
a job description for these?
Say it again, Tom?
A job description for these, written for these?
It is written for these, and it's usually attached to the meeting agenda.
Okay. Well, I must have missed it.
That's okay. I'm saying we usually do, but I'll double check and I can get you it if you need it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilwoman, yes.
I think the question may be for Director Elliott. Just because this is 5 positions, being, you're asking for them to have their pay schedule elevated. I'm just curious if it's fits within the budget that you have.
It does fit within the budget. It's something that we've been working on for a while, so it was something that we were prepared for. The hiring, it basically, one of the positions is a journeyman's electrician. So we're competing with all of those in the private sector. The other one is more on the computer side. So if the electricity goes down, the other one's kind of the computer side of it. And so they work hand in hand, and which is why we've historically tried to keep them aligned. I didn't know what a telemeter was, so I just wanted a title that made more sense to me. But also, it does help understand what the position is, because it is a unique position that many places don't have, specifically because it's the water treatment plant.
Oh, it's treatment. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
So it's the treatment side of it. Yes.
Different side of the water house.
Right. But it is out at the Ashland and the well field, so if the power goes out and everything shuts down, it's these positions that are there to respond and get everything back on track.
They sound valuable.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here today.
Any other questions for either director while we have them up here? Okay, very good. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Madam Clerk, could you please move us on?
That concludes section 6 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 7, ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. Item 7A is comprehensive plan conformance 23007, declaring approximately 0.46 acres of city-owned property generally located at 6930 West Shore Drive as surplus, introduced by Bowers.
So moved. Second.
Second, Shob. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 7B, street name change 23001, application of the City of Lincoln Planning Department for the naming of West Vine Street from Northwest 48th Street to Northwest 56th Street, and also to name Northwest 50th and Northwest 52nd Streets generally located in the vicinity of the Lincoln Northwest High School between Interstate 80 and West Holdridge Street, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob. Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Madam Clerk, if you'll please note that Councilwoman Washington will be excusing herself for items 6C, 6D, and 6E.
Okay.
And F. No, just to note.
Okay. Item 7C, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23006, application of PAR 72 LLC to amend the Lincoln Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan to revise the future land use map by changing the designation from green space to residential and commercial on property generally located at Southwest 40th and West A Streets, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob, comments?
Sorry, fell asleep.
Seeing none, thank you. Please call the roll.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7D is Annexation 23006, application of PAR 72 LLC to annex approximately 17 acres more or less on property generally located at Southwest 40th and West A Streets, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7E is approving the conditional annexation and change of zone agreement between the city and PAR 72 LLC for the property generally located at the northeast corner of Southwest 40th Street and West A Street, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7F is change of zone 23021, application of PAR 72 LLC to change from AG Agriculture District to R3 Residential Planned Unit Development on the property generally located at Southwest 40th and West A Streets, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7G is approving the lease agreement between the City of Lincoln and R.C. Kruger Development Company, LLC, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 7H is text amendment 23005, request by the City of Lincoln Planning Director to amend the Lincoln Municipal Code Title 27 zoning ordinance to add collaborative living as a new conditional use by amending Chapter 27.02.040, C definitions, 27.06.080, group living use group, 27.62.050, conditional uses for group living, 27.67.040, parking requirements, special conditions, and other sections as necessary. Introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Shob, comments?
It's this time I made a motion to amend this.
Is there a second on Councilman Duden's motion to amend?
Second.
Seconded by Shob. Councilman Duden, the floor is yours if you want to describe your motion to amend.
Tried my motion here. Now, let's see here. Now, I got to bounce back and forth between a couple of documents here. Maybe that would be easier. Thank you very much. Well, it says here on page 9, line 18, after the word existing, please insert the following language to include group home, traditional living facility, early child care facility, or other. And that would be in regards to, I could be a little more specific here. This is my first rodeo, so bear with me here on this. Now, I can't find exactly what I want to read there. But it's in regards to spacing in regards to these facilities so that they're away from each other. Right now, the spacing just refers to collaborative living homes being a distance from other collaborative living homes. And I'm proposing that they should be spaced from group homes, traditional living facilities, early child care facilities, or other, mainly so that within a given block, we don't have a group home, next door have a transitional living home, and then next to that have a collaborative living home. I think my amendment spaces it from all of these to make sure that there's more spacing and we don't end up taking over the south neighborhood or other neighborhoods for that matter with these group type, transitional living, collaborative living type facilities. And then on page 10, line 3, I wanted to insert the following new subsection, and I'll explain what that is notwithstanding municipal code section 2781.070, the owner or agent of a building or premise and or upon which a violation or any provision of subsection D has been committed or shall exist, or the leasee or tenant of an entire building or entire premise in or upon which violation has been committed or shall exist, or the agent, architect, building contractor, or any other person who commits, takes part, or assists in any violation or maintains any building or premise in or upon which such violation shall exist, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be punished by a fine of not to exceed $200 each and every day that such violation continues after notification may constitute a separate offense. In addition to other remedies in violation of the subsection, the city attorney may institute injunction, mandamus, or other appropriate action or proceedings to prevent such unlawful use or to correct such abate such violation or to prevent the occupancy of said building, structure, or land. And the only change that I'm making here is I'm increasing the fine from $100 to $200. And I see this because collaborative living is a totally unsupervised facility. All the other facilities are supervised. And so I just think that something needs to be there, and I think this needs to be included in the ordinance so that when someone thinks about starting a facility, they know what the penalties are if they don't follow the zoning regulations for such. And that was my purpose for that.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman Duden. Any questions on the motion to amend? Councilman Bowers?
I just got two questions, and maybe Johansson might be able to answer this. So for early childhood care facilities, does that include like in-home daycares?
John C. Christie, City Attorney, 555 South 10th. I'm looking back because I know we also have the planning department here as well. Maybe if you could ask your second question.
My second question is your Part B essentially ups the fine from 100 to 200. Is it a misdemeanor in the original language also?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So literally the only change with the second part is just upping it from
The fine, yeah.
to the fine. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Here's David Carey.
And if you could, your question was whether it includes
like in-home daycares for early childhood care facilities. So like if there's a collaborative living home and if someone wants to start an in-home daycare in their home or whatever, does early childhood care facility include in-home daycares?
Not necessarily. I think that there's a version of it where there would be we handle some of the smaller activities as basically in-home businesses, but there's a limit of the number of children that can fall underneath that. But basically, any other type of childcare use would fall underneath this proposal.
Last question that I have specifically for you, Councilman, is would you be open to splitting your amendment into two separate questions where we vote on Part A of the spacing and then Part B of the upping the fee from 100 to 200?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'll save to make that formal request after if there's no more questions from the council.
Okay.
I know we do have some other questions. Are you okay with taking questions
Sure.
at this point in
Yep,
time
you
before
bet.
that potential motion? Okay. Are there any questions or comments on this particular motion to amend? Yes, Councilman Weber.
And it may change depending on the motion being split. I wanted to thank you for bringing this amendment, Councilman Duden. I have concerns in supporting the aspect of this amendment that includes the fine. And the reason for that is it would create a separate and distinct penalty section in Section 27 that would only be applicable to collaborative living facilities. Every other violation in our zoning or any other zoning violation would be subject to the general penalty section. And I think that is the appropriate place for there to be a penalty when it comes to collaborative living. So I will have to vote against this amendment, but I wanted to thank you for bringing it forward.
I think I was forewarned about that, and I would be willing to maybe submit something different downrange where we would actually maybe increase the fine for all violations instead of just collaborative living.
And in response to that, I think as long as it is the general violations, because I don't think it's appropriate for one zoning violation to have one penalty and all others to have another. And I think that would be a more appropriate mechanism.
I'd be open to that.
Any other questions or comments at this point in time? Yes, Councilwoman.
Mr. Duden, I want to thank you again. Similar to Mr. Weber, I appreciate the conversations we've had on this ordinance, but for the same reasons, I'm very concerned about pulling a separate fine for collaborative living, and I appreciate the opportunity maybe at some point down the future to discuss in a broad context and a separate context whether or not the violations for zoning violations is appropriately priced, whether or not we need to increase all of them, and then by how much. So I look forward to that kind of conversation at some point in the future, but as it stands right now. And then I had a question. How do you define other in the first portion of your motion to amend? You list group home, transitional, early child care, or other?
I might need some help from the city attorney on that one.
If I may, I think the intention, if you just inserted it, would read group home, transitional living facility, early child care facility, or other collaborative living is how it should read.
Okay.
That's better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this motion to amend? Okay.
I would like to, if all the questions are in, then I would respectfully request if Councilman Duden is willing to split the question between essentially Part A of spacing and Part B of the fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Yes, sir.
Well, you're looking at me. I mean,
Yep.
I think if do it by agreement, usually a lot of times there's a motion to divide the question, split the question, move division.
I'm assuming that Councilman Bowers is making that motion.
You're making that motion. There's a second.
Yep.
So
I'll second.
vote on that.
Yep.
And just in terms of discussion, I think that, they're two separate issues. I can get behind the fine increase. I think it's okay. I can get behind the fine increase. The first part, I think there's still some wordsmithing that needs to be done, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and get rid of the whole part when I won't speak for any, but I know that I can get behind Part B on this. So thanks for your work.
Okay, very good. We actually have a motion on the floor, so let's go ahead and call that.
Just for clarification, is this
The motion to split. That's
okay?
correct.
Motion to divide. Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
No.
Schob,
No.
Duden,
My understanding is correct?
Point of
We're voting to split it, correct?
Yes,
I said
that's
yes.
the question before you.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
No.
Beckius.
No.
Motion lost 3-4.
Back to the main motion. Let's go ahead and call that roll.
I have a question for clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we still have the Councilman Duden's motion to amend number 1 on the table after the question for division?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm calling the vote on the motion to amend number 1.
Number 1, that's correct.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you. Carlson,
No.
Weber,
No.
Schob,
No.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
No.
Beckius.
No.
Motion lost 2-4.
5.
excuse me, 2 to 5.
And then back to the motion.
Carlson,
Now I'm lost. Sorry.
Did we want to have discussion about the main motion?
Do we,
Yes,
sorry,
we
do
have
councilors
the
want to have
main-
discussion on the
I think
the
so.
main?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. Sorry, we had talked a lot about a lot of issues, so I thought no one was, I thought everyone was good.
We'd
Is there
already done
anyone who would like to make a comment on the text amendment as presented, not amended? Yes, Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start off by acknowledging the neighborhood associations and the coalition that worked through this process with the city. I know as someone who's a member of my neighborhood association, how important it is to have collaboration like this. But at the end of the day, this text amendment, having something in law about collaborative living, I think is better than having nothing. We do need to do something when it comes to spacing requirements, when it comes to transitional living. And I think that needs to be done in a process where the public can be engaged in that rather than it being attached to this motion right here, right now. Also, we're dealing with federal law in this question. And because of that, there's a lot of issues that we really have to follow the guidelines that are set forth by federal law. And that's a big reason that I plan on supporting this motion. I'm also supporting it because, and part of this text amendment that I appreciate is the parking spaces. I know that was a concern of the neighborhood associations, and I understand so, but I think that if we were to increase that could have a negative effect on the neighborhoods. I think that could lead to paving of parts of properties that I don't think the neighbors would want to see. I don't think the property owners would want to see. I know this was a difficult process, and I genuinely appreciate both opponents and proponents being a part of it. I also want to thank Councilwoman Washington's just time and effort on this effort. So thank you for that, Councilwoman, and I plan on supporting this text amendment.
Other comments? Councilwoman, yes, please.
I'll try not to be redundant to Councilman Weber, but first I would like to thank everyone who came forward and participated, not just in the public hearing, but in the entire process from last summer till now. When we looked at the first of these applications looking for reasonable accommodation, there was a different mix of people at the dais, and a few of us stepped forward and said we were listening very hard to the neighborhood associations and wanted to look at what we could do to craft an ordinance to carefully, I won't say manage, but to make a process for collaborative living so that we could recognize the fact that this is a needed housing type in our community. And it provides a great service, but also that we're paying attention to what the neighborhoods, the residents are saying about the things that they're concerned about. And we got to this point, and I am the last of us who were working diligently on this issue. And I really appreciate how other council members have stepped up to take an interest in this and to help me get to this point, and thank the law department and the planning department.
Yes.
But I really, really want to stress how important it has been to have public involvement. I was listening last summer to all of the testimony. I went back and looked at that as we started to craft this ordinance, and I appreciate the patience that folks have had while we walked back through a lot of neighborhood association meetings in the last few months. This isn't going to please everybody the way it's written today, and I never expect that we'll reach perfection at the first go-round. But I do expect that we will get to perfection eventually. And so this is the first of it. And as Councilman Weber said, I think that having some parameters on collaborative living and allowing it in certain situations when they meet all of the things that we've laid down is a really good start. Also during the testimony last summer and the testimony just a few weeks ago, I noticed there was a lot of conversation about transitional living facilities and collaborative facilities. And I want to assure everyone who has been paying attention to this issue for almost 3.5 years that I am very focused on making certain that our ordinance for transitional living facilities are as strong as they possibly can be, but we also will need the help of the state. The unicameral gave us transitional living facilities without parameters and just the shortest of definitions, and we attempted to work with the unicam a few years ago, and we're going to go back and talk with them again and see if they can provide municipalities a little bit more around guidance on transitional living facilities, and I think that'll help to clarify some of the concerns that folks have about collaborative if we can clear up transitional. And so I thank everyone for their comments. I really appreciate the fact that folks stepped out of their comfort shell, a lot of folks, and came forward to testify. And I want to thank not just the neighborhood associations, but also the proponents of the facilities and the residents themselves who took a real big risk to sit down with a few of us and talk about their experiences in these homes. And so thank you to the residents as well. And with that, I will pass it to the chair.
All right, very good. I will just like to reiterate, excuse me, I will not reiterate the finer points that Councilman Weber and Councilwoman Washington stated, but I do want to just state that this is a starting point for this discussion. I think it's, again, important to have a baseline from which to work from. And as Councilman Weber stated specifically, the City of Lincoln, as well as other municipalities across the United States, are trying to best navigate themselves through this process as well. Again, I think this is a starting point. I think it's a strong starting point. Thank you to Councilwoman Washington and the City of Lincoln Planning Department for getting us here. I think the discussion continues, though. Please call the roll.
Carlson?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
No.
Bowers? Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-1. That concludes Section 7 of our agenda. Section 8 is our resolutions. First readings are items 8A through 8I. Section 9 is ordinances first reading and related resolutions are items 9A through 9K. Section 10 is our pending list, items 10A through 10D.
And with that, I would entertain a motion.
Is this a public?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not? Oh my gosh, then I'm going to motion adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Carlson. Please call the roll.
Duden?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes,
Motion carried 7-0.
we are adjourned.